talking to Mickey Z. It's Tuesday, August 7th, 2018. Mickey's latest essay on the World News Trust website is a glimpse back at life before the big surrender. Mickey, how you doing today? I'm
doing well, thank you. Happy to be here.
All right. Thanks for taking the time to talk about your story. I noticed that this is a continuation of a theme that you had from your previous story, probably about a week earlier, also about Facebook and how it's changed our lives, huh?
Absolutely. I feel like it adds a more personal context so that the sarcastic listicle about Facebook is not dismissed as just clickbait. And this is more giving context from the position of someone who can very readily remember life before social media and even before the internet and cell phones.
This is profound. Everybody in the world is experiencing this, and it's never really happened before, you know, to human beings, or it's really wild, and especially in the context of what's going on in the news. It's really a really challenging situation.
Yeah.
Can you tell us any more about the story, please?
I'm sorry?
Yeah. Talk some more about the story.
Yeah, I guess what I began to realize, I mean, I did in the 2000s when it suddenly became apparent that the internet was taking over, because as you said, this never happened before. And what we have to clarify is that, sure, they invented the printing press and they invented the television or the automobile, but these dramatic changes worked their way into mainstream society very slowly because for a variety of reasons. I read a recent article in which they said that the amount of data or information that a human being had, say, 100 years ago was this amount. They somehow quantified it to a number, and they said that amount matches how much more data we have this year than we did 2 years ago. And so what we've never seen before is this speed of change. And I don't think, you know, I say in the article, this isn't a get off my lawn rant where I want to go back to some illusionary good old days. I think it benefits everyone to slow down and think, how has this changed us, and has it hurt us? And when I bring up examples like using our brains as they were designed to do things like remember phone numbers, figure out directions when driving, just figure out creative plans without the luxury of being able to text someone or chat with someone, is what we were designed to do, and it keeps your brain in good shape. You know, I'm speaking as a personal trainer, and actually it will keep your body in better shape in the sense that we're not tethered to our phones and our computers all the time. So I think the article, I try to come from a personal angle, but the general vibe is I'm hoping to provoke some thoughts from people to think, to take a step back and think, whoa, how has it changed me, and is this good or bad?
Indeed. I've got some more I'd like to say, but I'd like to just wrap up this segment and then continue on, okay?
Sounds good to me. Thank you.
Right. Welcome back, Mickey. Hey, you know, I want to mention, I don't know if people really realize, but on Facebook in your news feed, the news you get is what somebody paid you to see. In other words, I post stuff on Facebook and I might get, half a dozen views. Maybe if it gets shared a few times, I'll get 10 or 20. They want me to buy the distribution. So if the news, it's not being selected based on your interests, except to the extent that they think they can, you know, someone's willing to pay to put that in front of you. It's, I don't know if people really understand that.
Yeah, I think, I'm so glad you brought this up, because the news feed is something that is one of the most misunderstood aspects. And I'm not going to pretend that I have this down pat, but I've been really trying to read about it and question myself, where it's so carefully curated for us as to what we see or don't see and when we see it and how often we see it, that we are part of a large social experiment. It's like behavior modification. Yeah. There have been some studies done that if you see a certain amount of negative input, whether it be from friends or news stories, that it's not so much how it makes you feel in that moment, although that might keep you engaged and on Facebook longer. But there's been some studies that it might make you more likely to buy something from an advertiser within the next half hour.
Yeah.
And we are volunteering to be part of an experiment of which has never been done before. You know, well, I guess we could think about it along the lines of when they introduced cigarettes and tobacco, and they introduced nuclear energy, and we were told, "Don't worry, it's safe. It's going to make everything better." And we had to have a certain amount of blind trust that, all right, let's just go along with it, and we know how those played out. So the newsfeed, it makes us feel like everyone agrees with us. We're in the know. We had the perfect group of friends and so on, and it's designed to keep us deeper and deeper, more deeply attached and addicted to social media. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because I'm currently off Facebook, but
Yeah.
I've been your Facebook friend since I joined Facebook, and I could count on the fingers of one hand how many times I've seen a post of yours in my newsfeed since, say, 2010. And meanwhile, we engage via chat and other ways. So it isn't like Facebook says, oh, these people don't really know each other.
We interact the most. I interact with you the most of anybody on Facebook. And yet I get every post of some guy down in North Carolina. I like him. He's an artist down there. I never met him, but I get everything he sends.
Yeah. And I could even put you on the see first. And I still don't see you first. And people have told me, hey, I haven't seen you on my newsfeed in so long. I'm going to put you on see first. And then they'll tell me like a month later, you know what? That didn't change anything. And it's like when you go to the corner in New York and there's a button allegedly that if you press it, it speeds up the red and green light. It just pacified while you're sitting there. So it's like we get these like pacification tools like, oh, I know what, I never see Francis's post, so I'll put him on see first. Then I feel like I'm in control. Look how powerful I am. And I never see your posts. And so, and as you said, we interact all the time. So you would think that the algorithm would pick up, these two guys should see each other's posts. But there's some.
Yeah, it's because it's about the money. The only thing you're seeing is what someone is paying Mark Zuckerberg, who, by the way, is one of the wealthiest people on the planet, paying him to show it. That's I think is the fundamental flaw that we're going to see about this experiment. From my point of view, it can't be about money, or else we end up with a president who's purchased, who's entirely corrupt, or it's not the answer. I don't think.
Yeah, I seriously, I have no solutions as to what the big fix is for social media, but I heard somebody mentioned, I'm really, really out of the loop when it comes to Twitter, but I know enough about it to understand this premise. Yeah. Someone was saying that if you get charged for how many follows you do, and like he basically phrased it that he took away the freedom to just create sock puppet accounts and so on, by saying that there would be more accountability, and you had to decide who followed you and who you followed based on a certain amount of payment. Now, of course, that's easy to say in the Western world where we could afford even 2 cents a follow. In third world countries, you would just further ostracize them. So obviously there are other factors involved there, but I'm happy that people are thinking about it, and that they're beginning to wonder, like, why am I seeing what I see? Why am I now thinking what I think? And what is this doing to me structurally, like neurologically? Like I feel like, as I say in the story, that the latest World News Trust story, I feel like I was in better shape internally and externally before I sat here so much. And as I mentioned the last time we chatted, I'm not someone that's always on his phone. I'm on the subway all the time, and I'll be doing a crossword puzzle in the newspaper, and every other person around me is staring at their phone. So I'm even the exception to that rule, and I still feel completely drawn in. I am not pretending to have any solutions for sure, but I'm more like the Paul Revere running, saying, the British are coming. I don't know how to stop the British, but I think you should know they're coming. So that, I think maybe that's the only role that I could be of any use at this point.
Well, thanks for taking the time to write the essay. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me today. in the interest of brevity, because I could just talk to you for as long as you would talk, I'm going to wrap this up again, and hopefully you'll come back and talk to me later in the week or next week about your next story.
It'll be my pleasure, and thank you for all your support and friendship.
Thank you, Mickey. Now, look, I'll wrap there, but I want it, since I got you, how's the homeless project going? Are you?
You know, as I feared, it's been a week now that I'm off Facebook, and I'm not getting, the funding has dropped, as I feared. But it's too early to tell. I'm not going to take that sample size and say, oh, that's it. There's one gentleman who lives in Australia or New Zealand who I just know through the internet, who supports what I do, and he sends me something on the 15th of every month. That's when he could afford to send me a nice donation. Yeah. He wrote to me and said, hey, I saw you're going to deactivate. I totally support you on that. Don't worry, I got you on the 15th of each month. So I want to see how it plays out. But I feel like Pacino in The Godfather 3, every time you think you're out, they pull you back in. Like, I don't know how. It's just too early to tell, but I can't, my anxiety is getting the best of me as to, like, oh man, if I leave Facebook, this project is going to be seriously downsized. And so the only advantage of that has to do with the fact that the weather this is one of the worst summers in terms of continuity of poor weather. Like, like you could get these 100-degree weeks and then they vanish, and you open the windows, and even in New York, it's just consistently like 88 or 90 with a real feel of 105 every day, and then a thunderstorm that doesn't release it. So I need a physical break on that. And I also was overdoing it. I was carrying a backpack that was 30, 35 pounds. I'm not a big person. And I wound up with plantar fasciitis in my left heel. That's something that athletes get from overuse, or older people get from underuse / weight gain. So I'm sort of, my body thinks I gained weight because I'm carrying all this up and down subway steps. And so what I'm doing this month is very consciously taking days off, resting, doing all the protocols. It's a totally fixable thing, but you have to follow religiously. And I'm trying not to panic that, oh my God, I'm going to lose all the money. But short term, it's hard not to panic, because there were certain times each month that I knew I was going to get this much or this much or this much, and it's already slowed down in one week.
I understand. Well, Mickey, why don't you tell the viewers and listeners where they can donate or find out more information about your project?
Well, the easiest way is to look it up on GoFundMe, which is called Helping Homeless Women NYC for New York City. It's also on Patreon. And if you go to either one of them, I regularly do updates telling you what I'm doing, and I include in the updates the link. So if you go to GoFundMe, you'll find the Patreon link, and also there's an Amazon wish list link in both of them. So if some people prefer, it basically works like this. GoFundMe can just be a one-shot deal. You have a few extra bucks, you want to send it, much appreciated. Patreon, you might say, hey, I can afford to give you $5-10 a month, and I'm going to commit to that. Or you might be someone that says, I feel better sending you the material. I'm not a money type of person, which I totally get. Then you could go to the Amazon wish list, pick out whatever item calls out to you, and have it shipped directly to my home. So those three options, I think, broaden the donor base in the sense that it appeals to whatever people's personal style is.
That's really cool. Now, this is something you may have thought about. Do you have any, I don't want to say evidence isn't the right word. Can you show anything about, like, what the results of what you've been doing? Any happy homeless people, or you know what I mean? No. I know you say you go out every day. I know you do. But I mean, like, is there evidence of your hard work?
Well, New York One News, it's a local news channel, as the name implies. It's pretty popular. In 2017, a reporter followed me around and did a segment on me. And then Pix 11, which growing up was just Channel 11 News here, very iconic New York news. Same thing. They followed me around and did a pretty extensive segment on me called I was a change maker. On New York One News, I was Person of the Week. So I've had some media coverage. Cool. The catch is this: the women, the last thing they want to be photographed or interviewed, because it's it's not even just a personal shame issue. What I've learned by listening is that, let's just say a woman is 21 years old or even younger, and she's out on the street, and I don't need to know the specifics, but it could be that her stepfather was abusing her. So she took off. Now, if she's on the news somewhere and someone says to him, hey, I saw your stepdaughter on Channel 11 doing this, I could be responsible for her life being in serious danger. So I don't have any power over these women, and anyone can walk up to them and talk to them in the street. But when people contact me and say, hey, we want to follow you around, we want to interview you, I always say no.
Yeah.
And so by design, I cut off a percentage of my funding, because there is no palpable result to say, hey, look what your funding did. You have to trust me when I write these updates. Like, hey, today was so-and-so's birthday, and I was able to give her this, this, and this, and you gave me this much money, and it's either you trust me or you don't. And that definitely is a model that's less than ideal.
Well, but I totally understand what you're saying. You can understand why I was asking the viewers to know, get an idea what you're doing. I wonder if I can find those old clips. Maybe I can post them on the site.
I will email them to you. I definitely have them somewhere. Yeah.
I'd like to post them on our video library. Good. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
I'm going to send you, and this is off the record.
Okay.
What's today?
I'll stop the broadcast. You can